Jeannie Seely, a renowned musician, has died. She passed away on August 1, 2025, at the age of 84, leaving behind a legacy that stretches across decades of country music history. Her funeral and memorial service were held on August 14, 2025, at the Grand Ole Opry House in Nashville, Tennessee, the stage that defined so much of her career. Today we are going to uncover her story, her music, and the unforgettable farewell that celebrated her life in the very place where her voice became a part of country music's beating heart. From her earliest days, Jeannie Seely carried with her the grit, warmth, and determination that would one day make her an icon. Born in Titusville, Pennsylvania, she was raised in a working-class family surrounded by the traditions of small-town life. As a child, she listened to the crackle of country music over the radio, her imagination stirred by the voices drifting from Nashville. Those voices planted a seed. She dreamed of one day standing on the same stages, not only listening to the music, but contributing her own. That dream carried her forward through the years, and when she finally made her way to Nashville, she did so with persistence and courage. The Nashville of the 1960s was not an easy place for women. The industry was male-dominated, protective of its traditions, and often resistant to change. Yet Jeannie Seely had something different. She had the talent, of course, but she also had personality, wit, and the unshakable belief that her stories mattered. She wrote, pitched, and sang with a fire that could not be ignored. And in she broke through in spectacular fashion with a song that would become her lifelong signature, Don't Touch Me. With its haunting vulnerability and strength, it soared up the charts and won her a Grammy Award, a remarkable achievement at the time, particularly for a woman in country music. That song not only established her career, but also cemented her place in the history of the genre. From there, Seely built a reputation as more than just a singer. And real. Her performances carried both the heartache of experience and the playful edge of humor. Fans recognized in her voice someone who understood life's trials and joys. Critics praised her authenticity, and peers admired her ability to balance tradition with innovation. She was never afraid to sing about subjects that cut close to the bone, and yet she could turn around and deliver a performance brimming with sass and wit. In 1967, she was invited to join the Grand Ole Opry. It was an honor, but it also became the defining thread of her life. For nearly 6 decades, she stood on that storied stage, performing more than 5,000 times. No one could speak of the Opry without speaking of Jeannie Seely. She was not just a performer. She was a fixture, an anchor, and a living embodiment of the Opry's enduring tradition. The audiences who gathered there over the years came to see her as family, and she returned that love with every performance. Her humor filled the room. Her songs carried people through heartbreak and celebration, and her presence reminded everyone that music is not just sounded, is community. When fellow artist Mandy Barnett once said, Jeannie Seely is the Grand Ole Opry, it was more than a compliment. It was a statement of truth. She represented everything the Opry was meant to be, a place where stories are shared, where traditions are honored, and where the circle of music remains unbroken. She also used her influence to mentor younger artists, guiding them with generosity and kindness. Acts like Cutter and Cash, a young bluegrass duo she first introduced to the Opry nearly a decade ago, found in her not just a mentor but a champion. Her encouragement gave them confidence, and her wisdom helped them navigate the path she had walked long before. When the time came to say goodbye to Jeannie, the Opry stage transformed into a place of remembrance. On August 14, 2025, her memorial service unfolded like one final concert, her 5,398th appearance, but this time the performance was dedicated entirely to her. The Opry House was filled with artists, fans, and friends, all gathered to celebrate the life of a woman who had given so much. A much larger circle in heaven? It was a comforting thought, one that captured the essence of country music itself. The idea that life and song are parts of a larger. Ricky Skaggs and the Whites took the stage to sing the bluegrass hymn Gathering Flowers for the Master's Bouquet, their voices carrying a tender reverence. T. Graham Brown delivered Sweet Beulah Land, ensemble that filled the hall with a soaring sound. Darryl Worley performed I Miss My Friend, a song that seemed to echo the grief in the room while offering comfort through its melody. Entertained but to reflect Jeannie's spirit and the bonds she had forged with her fellow musicians, there were also moving video tributes. Dolly Parton, a close friend and peer, appeared on screen to speak about Jeannie's impact. Jimmy Fortune of the Statler Brothers recalled being with her during her final days in hospice care. He spoke of how he sang Amazing Grace to her as she slipped away, the last voice she heard on earth. He also shared that Jeannie had wanted to finish one last song with him, a piece called He Wrote the Book on Love. Though her time ran out before they could complete it together, Fortune promised to finish the song in her honor, ensuring that her creative spirit continues even after her passing. The night also shined a light on Jeannie's role as a songwriter. She had co-written Anyone Who Knows What Love Is, a song that has endured for 6 decades and has been rediscovered by new generations. The War and Treaty performed it at the Memorial, delivering a soulful and electrifying version that brought the audience to its feet. Gaps between eras and genres. She was a collaborator who opened doors for others and took joy in seeing her songs live on in new voices. Several of her favorite co-writers, including Aaron Enderlin, Buddy Cannon, Bobby Tomberlin, Victoria Shaw, and Charles Eston, appeared together to perform songs she loved, among them Diamond Rio's One More Day. Their presence underscored how much she valued collaboration, friendship, and the shared act of creation. It was not just about her own success, but about the community of writers and singers who found inspiration in her presence. Then came one of the most touching tributes of the evening. Cutter and Cash, now young men but once children introduced to the Opry by Jeannie herself, took the stage with Kentucky Grass to perform her song Farm in Pennsylvania. Their performance was more than a musical number. It was a symbol of legacy. Here were artists she had guided, now standing where she once brought them, singing her song to honor her memory. Emotional moment came with her signature song, Don't Touch Me. A studio recording of Jeannie's voice played, joined by live harmonies from Mandy Barnett, Linda Davis, Wendy Moten, and Rhonda Vincent. As the song filled the Opry House, the audience rose in a standing ovation. Tears flowed freely, not only because of the beauty of the performance, but because it felt as if Jeannie herself had returned to sing one last time. That song, the one that began her journey, became the final note of her earthly chapter, and the applause that followed was an outpouring of gratitude for a lifetime of music. Speakers throughout the night recalled her humor, her spunk, and her sass. Dan Rogers, executive producer of the Opry, said her legacy would always be remembered for leaving crowds speechless with her quick wit and her indomitable spirit. Ricky Skaggs spoke warmly, reminding everyone that while Jeannie had spent her life kicking down doors for women in music, she didn't have to kick down the door to heaven. Gus Arundel, president of Springer Mountain Farms, remembered her generosity, noting that she always loved to help people who were willing to help themselves. What made Jeannie unique was not just her music but her way of living. She embodied resilience and joy, candor and compassion. She could make audiences laugh with a sharp remark, and moments later move them to tears with a tender ballad. She mentored, she gave, and she carried herself with authenticity. That is why her passing leaves such a profound absence, and why her memorial was not a moment of silence, but a night of songs, stories, and laughter. Jeannie Seely's story is a reminder of what music can mean. It is more than entertainment. It is memory, healing, and connection. When the War and Treaty sang her Coritan classic, they were not just performing, they were keeping alive the bond of friendship and the spark of her creativity. When Cutter and Cash sang Farm in Pennsylvania, they were carrying forward the mentorship she gave them, and when the recording of Don't Touch Me played, her voice transcended death itself, proving that music can hold a person's spirit long after they are gone. Her memorial at the Opry was both farewell and continuation. It marked the end of a remarkable earthly journey, but it also opened a new chapter of legacy. Her songs will continue to be sung, her story told, and her spirit felt in every corner of the Opry stage. She is gone, but the circle remains unbroken. Her influence woven into the very fabric of country music. To remember Jeannie Seely is to remember the power of song. Her humor, her spunk, and her sass will be missed, but her music remains. She showed that a song could carry truth, that a performance could be both prayer and celebration, and that a life lived with authenticity could leave echoes far beyond its time. Her final curtain call was not an ending, but a reminder that in music nothing is ever truly lost. As Ricky Skaggs said, she didn't have to kick down the door to heaven. She entered singing, and somewhere beyond, her voice continues.